But
Yeah.
Michael, you told me a bit before about your experiences and thoughts before coming to the United States, right? I wanted to ask you, what have you experienced or thought about gun culture since having come to the United States for a while? Have they changed it a little bit? What is your perspective and view towards gun ownership, gun laws, and overall the culture now versus before you came?
I hear you. Most of my American friends are having the same thoughts as yours. In fact, a lot of my Chinese friends embraced the new gun culture very well. They started practicing shooting a gun as a routine activity. They had a gun owner group on WeChat or a kind of other social media platforms, and they reverse what they have been taught in China. For me, I am still in the process of digesting the cultural difference, but I'm open to change, and that's why I would like to have these conversations with you today. I'm so glad you could help me with this. So, let's talk about guns a bit deeper. So, question: do you think guns are a self-defense tool or a dangerous, deadly weapon?
Yeah, I mean, that's another great question, Michael, for sure. But again, not an easy one. I think the best example would be like anything in life that you can abuse: food or alcohol or a car or anything like that. If you take a certain amount and respect it, it's fine. Or you can abuse it, you can pervert it, and you can use it for bad ways. Just like the nature of anything we see in life, right? And I personally enjoy guns for many reasons. But the least reason is honestly safety. I don't feel unsafe where I live. I live in a nice neighborhood, but I don't really need them for safety. It's more just like, how do you say, just because I like it and because I can and because it's my right and because I just like to collect them. That's really it. And how do you say, Mike, it's definitely a topic of deep discussion to a lot of people. Do you personally have any issues on it? Or do you personally have any strong feelings on them? That they should only be a tool for self-defense, or they're only considered a weapon, or for instance, America should be like China. No gun should be allowed. Do you have any different takes or perspectives on that just based on what you've seen?
To me, guns are not as scary as what I thought before or what I thought before. I think that's a double-sided sword, as it can be both. It depends on how the person handles it. As you mentioned, the education part is the key. I think there's one report about Switzerland. The country over there, people, know guns so well, and there's way less murder rates than other gun-forbidden countries. So I believe maybe the United States is similar. So, okay, for those who have never touched a gun and then very often believe guns are bad or dangerous, what do you think could be helpful for them to change their mindset?
Well, I mean, Michael, I think you make a good point. I think data can inform decisions, right? There are bad things that can happen. But what's important is to go up a level and think about cost benefits and how different countries are and how they react differently to it. And it's not right or wrong. It's just like culture. It's different, and there are pros and cons. You can examine it, but I prefer to take the best from everything and maybe make a new one, So looking at this OECD country stat, it shows the deaths per 100,000 people. Mexico leading that. You know why? Because of the organized crime that goes on there and all the murders and gang wars right on the border. And USA, a lot of that actually has to deal with border cartel wars as well. Lots of drugs going between the United States and Mexico. And how do you say, the gun owners always say the most important safety is right between your ears, your brain. So the more you know, the more you educate yourself, the safer you're going to be, the safer the guns are going to be. And you said something about Switzerland. Switzerland is a really interesting example where the military, they have a military, but they actually train civilians like you and me how to fire guns. And then they give us guns, give us ammunition, and we have to lock it up. It's not ours, and we have to bring it to train a few times a year. I think I had an Airbnb guest who was Swedish for a week, and I always asked him all this stuff, and I wanted to learn about it. And it's a lot different than the United States. The United States is really basically, hey, if you're of the right age and you don't have a felony, a violent or serious crime that would make you seem undeserving or unstable with a gun, in that case, if you don't have that problem, well then you deserve the right to have a gun and you can buy one. It's really, really as simple as that. A good analogy to understand the comparison between maybe countries that allow guns and those that don't allow guns would be maybe just two countries where one country let you drive and the other country did not let you drive. Let's say there was a country that said no driving, it's too dangerous, too many deaths, it's bad for the country, we don't want it. And everyone has to walk, they don't enjoy cars. Okay, you can survive, you don't have to have a car. Maybe they don't like pollution too, right? It's bad for everyone, bad for the environment. Another country says, well no, we think vehicles are important. Yeah, they're not necessary, but we think it's important. And we understand that there are deaths, there's accidents, there's pollutions, but there's reasons that we think it's worth it, and we understand the costs, and we choose to allow it. That's the easiest kind of idea to think about. Most of the murders involving guns in the US are related to drugs, crime, organized crime, and a very, very small percentage of that is what the media says are mass murders. I'm not saying it's good, I'm just saying this is what the data actually shows. So I think that might help educate and inform some people about the actual level of gravity of deaths. And furthermore, if you look up the top 10 causes of deaths in the United States, guns are not even close to that. There's way more other things we could do to save the lives of people if we really wanted to do that. So I question people's motives sometimes because the logic of their reasoning sometimes does not even make sense. So Michael, what are your thoughts? You've lived in both areas. You've lived in China, you lived in Texas. You lived in Texas for a good many years now. You have some considerable experience there. Would you consider getting a gun? What do you think as a Chinese person? What is your view as a Chinese person? Is it right? Is it wrong? Would you buy one then? What do you think?
I actually have one shotgun in my house, although I never use it. I am also thinking of going to shooting activities, and once I know how to operate it, I may try to get a handgun. So if I want to buy a gun, what do I begin? Go straight to a gun show to buy it?
Hey Michael, it's a good question. And it's actually easier than you might think to get a gun. And it depends on what state you live in. So, man, you have a shotgun already. You must be an assassin or something, I don't know about that. A shotgun is a good choice for a single gun for a house, for sure. Probably my choice. But as you know, the requirements are pretty easy. As long as you're of age and you don't have a felony, you can almost guaranteed buy a gun. In Texas, particularly, it's very lenient, very easy to get a gun. You can go to a gun show. And a gun show is just a big meeting place with a bunch of people who like guns to come buy, sell, trade very easily all their guns and gun stuff. Many people in the United States think that's bad because in Texas, there's no background check requirement. You can just trade to anyone. In Washington State, where I live, that used to be the case, but now we can no longer do that. You have to do a background check. So it's a little tighter in Washington State. In some cities in the United States don't even let you own one. Like New York, you can't have a firearm. Los Angeles, I think, is pretty tight too. So it's really different depending on where you go in the United States. And Michael, as we can see in this picture in the gun show below, there's a few thousand people there. There's a lot of guns in this place. It's a gun show. I've been to many of them. They're actually quite fun and kind of interesting to walk around, and you meet lots of interesting people.